Starfield is an enormous game with what seems to be an even bigger mystery woven into its universe, our own universe. In this video, I'd like to take all of the evidence BGS has given us so far to infer what might be the answer to everything, as they put it. So everyone grab your tinfoil hat and chug some space skooma so we can get right into it. We know that this ancient structure is at the center of this game's mystery. In one of the early trailers, we get a peek at some written observations made on the site itself. Once zoomed in, you could see the top-down drawings of the site and its available patterns, where they read as alpha, beta, chi, delta, epsilon, and rho. Beneath the patterns, it reads, debate and constellation continues over the nature of the patterns. Circular design seems intentional, but the disconnected elements suggest separate meanings. The patterns each remind me of a solar system. Next, we see view from approach. The structure is said to be multiple stories tall. Above the drawing, its parts are named as A, central chamber, B, large outer walls, C, rough steps and other shapes. Pretty amazing to see how large the structure actually is. And lastly, we have a 3/4 view of the central chamber, showing 3 rotating rings on the side as well as their size comparison. Each ring is a little over 2 times taller than a human, so it's large enough for us to fit. In the other corner it reads, we have so far been unable to determine what happens at the center. So that is the question. What happens at the center of the structure? Let's see how close we can come with the limited info that we do have. At the very least, it seems to have been built by an intelligent species, unknown yet to the human race. The structure seems to be inactive until its pieces/artifacts are collected. How they manage to separate and disappear, I'm not sure. It seems that we will find one buried in the very beginning of the game while we are mining. The fact that it is under so many layers of rock means one of 2 things in my mind. Either it was placed there intentionally, or that was its trajectory and it's been buried over millions and millions of years, or when the entire object was broken, its pieces were sent through space and time. The way the artifact affects the gravity around it seems to agree with that second theory. Either way, finding this first artifact introduces us to visions. Maybe the artifact's creators are calling for help, or we can view their ancient memories. We are then introduced to Constellation, the last group of space explorers, and their hunt for the artifacts. And once all artifacts are collected, it creates this thing, some type of gravity-defying gyroscope. The outer bands of the ring have what looks like planets or constellations etched into them. It seems as we collect the artifacts, more and more of the site activates, maybe even showing the different patterns/star systems where to get the next pieces. Maybe we are building a map to the 4th unknown city. Basically, what this activated structure is/does is what we are trying to find out. We'll start with some things said about the game from its developers. The game is said to be the be-all and end-all of space games. It will ask questions such as, what's out there? Where did we come from? And how does God play a role in all of this? These are some of humanity's fundamental questions since we've gazed upon the night sky, and I, for one, am extremely interested to see how Bethesda handles them. So what's out there? Well, this is what Bethesda games are about, exploration. But space is especially interesting because of its scale and mystery. It is a seemingly unending abyss holding literally everything as we know it within it somewhere. I think the most interesting thing that could be out there is intelligent life, or at the very least, an ancient race of humans. And this is exactly where Todd Howard and Lex Friedman ended up in their conversation on Starfield only a couple weeks ago. Todd says it's one of his big dreams that they discover life on another planet within his lifetime, and that he's fascinated by how humanity would react to finding an industrial civilization on another planet. This fascination of his is what I think sits at the core of this game. This also coincides with the same fascination inherent in the Fallout franchise, that psychology of how humanity, meaning the NPCs and the player character, would react to a post-apocalyptic nuclear situation. Some pray and hide, some raid, rape, and steal, and some try to rebuild anew. Speaking of praying, I don't necessarily think BGS will try to tell us what they think God actually is, but I do think There will be factions in the game clinging on to any faith they can and trying to persuade us, as usual, like the radiation worshippers in Fallout. I wonder what the zealots of House Varu actually believe, and does it have anything to do with these artifacts? We've already been shown basically everything the game needs to fulfill the title of the be-all, end-all of space games, from fighting space pirates to outpost building and alien dinosaurs. We've basically seen everything except intelligent / industrial aliens. So where are they? Well, we haven't made contact with them yet. And of course, I think as the player character, we will be one of the first humans to make that contact. And our decisions will impact how they are dealt with peace and kindness, fear and violence, maybe even deceit. The fact that alien creatures with animal-like intelligence already exist in the game, the fourth major city is still unannounced, and the main story is almost twice as long as previous games, sitting at around 30 to 40 hours. I really think that the first half of the game will include us collecting the artifacts and building settlements and relationships with different factions in the game. Once we complete the artifact, it unlocks something insane. I think it will be a wormhole to that fourth major city. In my eyes, there are a couple of ways they could go with the city, on a scale from empty Dwemer ruins to full-on bustling alien city, meaning it could be fully inhabited or maybe desolated with clues on what happened to those beings who have built it. Maybe they've gone past our dimension. Being a deeply human game, I wouldn't even be surprised if the civilization we found was actually humans that left Earth before we thought it was possible, or humanoids that evolved somewhere else. Once we come into contact with these intelligent beings, it is our prerogative on how to deal with them. But one interesting thing to note is that in almost every BGS game, there is an overarching villain or evil faction you must beat to complete the main quest. Like in Skyrim, you have to defeat Alduin. In Oblivion, you must close the gates, stopping the Daedra. In Fallout 4, you have to deal with the Institute. It seems like there is a villain void right now in the game. Will the pirates be a big enough issue for us to be satisfied in solving? Are they trying to collect the alien device and use it as a weapon? I don't know. Like, do we really need an alien faction to side with or against to make the game? I think the answer is yes. It seems to be the most exciting avenue, especially because BGS is known for making interesting factions and races. They definitely didn't have to put cats and lizard people in the Elder Scrolls, but they did. I refuse to believe that the faction people, Bethesda, would make an entire space franchise and leave out aliens. Deciding how to react to alien life is, in my opinion, the most interesting theme in dialogue / choices that BGS can let us explore. And one final point here. The longer you look at this poster, the more it all kind of makes sense. We see on the bottom here whatever planet that artifact site is actually on. The topographical gravity map surrounding it, I think, represents the game map. You can see the artifact finally fully activated and what looks like to be sending our ship to another planet. This planet is not in our game map and can only be visited once the artifact is active. I believe this planet will hold the fourth unconfirmed major city, an alien city. Having all these clues in this poster is almost like looking at the OG Star Wars poster before the movie released. You wouldn't know before you watch the movie how important that weird-looking metal ball, the Death Star, would actually be to the story. I think we've been staring at half of the answers this entire time, but obviously they aren't going to give us all the info we need or spoil the ending. Or have they? They showed dragons in the marketing for Skyrim, and they showed the player character literally dropping the nuke to the end of the main story in Fallout 4's one of its trailers. So hopefully in Starfield, walking up to the device is not actually the extent of the end of the game. At the very least, if what I said earlier about the artifact wasn't correct, I think we'll be able to have a conversation with the artifact, and it will react to the choices we've made throughout the game. Maybe they'll save the actual aliens for Starfield 2, but either way, I think I put most of the relevant info out here so you guys can infer for yourselves. I would love to hear everyone's theories on this mystery and feedback on the video. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. All of your positive feedback has been absolutely blowing me away. Feel free to like and subscribe if you thought this was informative and enjoyable. We'll have more Starfield and gaming content coming at you soon. Can't wait to see you guys next time. Later.